Hello learners! Welcome to MAGKAT-ON Corner. Today's video will teach us the distinction between teleological ethics and deontological ethics. What exactly are these ethics, by the way? Two of the ethical streams or theories in ethics are teleological ethics and deontological ethics. Aristotelian virtue ethics, divine command virtue ethics, hedonism, relativism, subjectivism, objectivism are some other ethical theories, but these theories will be discussed separately. To begin with, the difference is teleologism is otherwise known as consequentialist ethics, whereas deontologism is otherwise known as non-consequentialism. As a consequentialist ethics, teleologism is the theory of morality that draws moral obligations or duties from what is desirable or good as an end to be attained. Teleological is from the Greek term telos, which means end, and logos, which means science. It is literally the science of studying the outcomes or end results or consequences of any action. As a non-consequentialist ethics, deontologism, on the other hand, can be depicted as duty-based ethical theories. The word deon originates from the Greek word duty. They focus on the nature of the action itself and also on its motive in order to figure out if it is right or wrong. Let us now look into the other key concepts of teleological ethics. The teleological perspective holds that an act is morally right if it produces a greater level of good over evil, and it is morally wrong if it does the opposite. The first point of view holds that whether an action is morally right or morally wrong is determined by the outcome. It states that a morally correct action is one that produces more good than evil, whereas a morally incorrect action produces more evil than good. The second concept is a continuation of the first. According to this perspective, actions are right as they produce and promote the greatest happiness, wrong as they promote unhappiness. Happiness refers to pleasure and the absence of pain, while unhappiness means pain and the deprivation of pleasure. This statement is concerned with greatest happiness and unhappiness. It asserts that happiness refers to pleasure and the absence of pain, whereas unhappiness is defined by pain and the deprivation of pleasure. Let us stick to its core idea that pleasures are any actions that bring happiness and prevent painful outcomes. This is not about sensual pleasures. And the third concept says, the basis of the teleological perspective is that the freedom from pain and suffering and the promotion of pleasure are the sole things desired as ends, and all the desirable things are desired for the pleasure or to achieve happiness and prevent unhappiness. This means that all actions of teleologists are directed toward a single goal, happiness. And the last concept says, teleology suggests that we have one prime basic duty: to do whatever maximizes the best consequences. Hence, the teleological perspective of ethics is emphasizing on the outcomes, despite the intent of individual behavior. This means that the intent of individual behavior is irrelevant. What matters is the outcome, because according to teleologists, human beings have one primary basic duty: to do whatever maximizes the best outcomes. Now, to understand further, the teleological perspective is a group of theories that are identified by one main conviction, that is, the moral evaluation of actions, motives, or rules is based on how much good they generate or how much bad they allow us to avoid. Among the major teleological theories are ethical egoism, act utilitarianism, and rule utilitarianism. Each of these teleological perspectives will be discussed separately. For the meantime, let us also discuss the other key concepts of deontological ethics. The first concept says, consequences do not matter in deciding which act is morally right. It is the rules that determine what motive to act from and what action we should make. This viewpoint contends that consequences are irrelevant when determining whether an action is morally correct. Rather, it is the rule that determines what motive to act on and what action to take. Let us continue to the next claims. Actions such as breaking a promise or killing innocents are wrong in themselves and not simply wrong because they have bad consequence. There is something about killing, intentional cheating, or humiliation which makes these actions wrong by their nature. Hence, particular actions are intrinsically morally right or wrong. That is, many actions possess the moral character they do by virtue of their own nature, considered totally separated from the consequences they produce. These statements clearly emphasize that wrong actions are always wrong because their nature is wrong in and of itself, or that they are morally wrong regardless of the outcomes. Among the examples given are breaking a promise, killing, intentional cheating, and humiliation. Regardless of the outcome, these actions will always be wrong by nature and will never become right. Now, the last claim says, deontologists construct their judgments in light of moral rights that individuals are believed to have. Generally speaking, any person has a right to be treated in ways that guarantee his dignity, respect, and independence. This is part of our moral duty as human beings. This means that every human being must understand the nature of every action, whether right or wrong, in order to act based on moral rights to ensure that all are treated with dignity, respect, and independence as part of our moral duty. There are two main groups of deontological theories, rule deontology and act deontology. Rule deontology, as the term suggests, is a duty based on rules or the nature of every action, whereas act deontology is a duty of every human being as a human being that focuses on obligations or responsibilities toward others. The most prominent deontologist is a German philosopher, Immanuel Kant. According to Kant, when an act is intrinsically wrong, we will contradict ourselves if we claim it is not. Deontological ethics holds that the end does not justify the means. This means that even if the results bring pleasures and happiness, or even if it satisfies the self-interest of the agent, Such end results will never make the wrong actions become right or good. Kant emphasized that doing one's duty does not involve gaining pleasure and happiness for oneself. It involves simply doing one's duty. He even asserts that we should look for the ultimate source of morality in the way how human ought to behave, not in how human actually behave. This moral principle does not focus on the consequences of the acts, because according to Kant, the important is not the consequences, but doing one's duty. Once again, the difference between teleological ethics and deontological ethics is teleologism is a consequentialist ethics, while deontologism is non-consequentialism. I hope you took something away from our discussion today. Thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing if you learned something from this video.